Hey, Peter,
What's up?
are you digging these little intros that we just started this week?
I haven't heard them yet, but I'm gonna check on them. How about you?
I don't like them.
Okay.
I'm Adam Maness,
And I'm Peter Martin.
and you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Daily jazz advice coming at you.
Brought to you by Open Studio. Now, this is a interesting episode. This episode contains a word called the panopticon that I just recently remembered what it was. I remember a movie about a panopticon, I swear,
Interesting.
but it's a prison, right?
It's a prison. Actually, when I saw this word, whatever, a couple of weeks ago, I don't think I'd ever seen it or heard it or anything. I had no memory of it, so I was immediately like, what do I do? Is there a place called Google I could possibly enter this word into? So I did. And yeah, it's a prison where, or some type of detention facility where the warden or the guard is able to see in all the cells what everybody's doing and keep control of them. But everybody, in individual cells, but everybody, the architecture of it is that everybody in the cells can't see each other, and they can't see when they're being watched and when they're not.
Interesting.
So it's kind of like it's got a certain amount of control, I guess, along with it.
And creepy.
And it's a little creepy and a little
yeah.
scary and a little negative, but our friends over at the New York Times turned it into a positive, I would say.
Yeah, well, how's that?
Well, so we were featured, Open Studio was featured in an article, actually in the opinion section of the New York Times a couple of weeks ago, September 15th. And we've gotten a lot of questions about this here at the You'll Hear It podcast. So we thought we would just kind of talk a little bit about it and how it came about and just about the article. But the title of it is Piano Lessons in the Panopticon.
Right.
By Elias Muhana, who is actually one of our students, a longtime member of Jazz Piano Method of my lesson series I started a while ago. And Elias asked us about coming to interview and kind of seeing the operation and a little bit of peek behind the curtain here of what we do, and about a year ago. So
Yeah.
this has been kind of a long time in the making, and we'd actually sort of forgotten about it. And then all of a sudden the article came out a couple weeks ago, and it's been a lot of fun because we've gotten all this sort of, feedback and attention from a whole, well, it's not a whole new, well, it is a whole new audience. People are like, oh, I heard about you in the New York Times, calling up here and stuff and interested in our different lesson offerings. And I think the author just did a wonderful sort of first-hand account and walkthrough about his experience, which was really instructive to us as well in terms of, we're producing the lessons and we never know exactly how they're received and used. I mean, we do because we talk to people.
Yeah, so the gist of the article was more about, can you learn jazz piano online? Can you learn anything on these online courses? Which, obviously you and I are going to say, yeah, of course you can, because
Yeah.
we have an online
Yeah.
jazz lesson website. But, this is all still so new, so we're still learning. I mean, even up to like emails today about how people use Open Studio, how they use these lessons,
Right.
how we can make it better for them to learn and get better at their instruments
Yeah.
through these things. It's kind of a different era. I mean, it's really like
It's uncharted territory.
it's uncharted territory.
Yeah.
There've been I remember old VHS cassette masterclass kind of style stuff, but this is, I think as our listeners can tell, because we're literally like talking to them in their earbuds right now.
Right.
Most of the time,
We all up in there.
most of the time we're talking to them about stuff that they've sent in requesting, and it happens fairly fast. And then when we get feedback on Facebook or on email, we're quick to kind of respond. So it's different, I feel like, than the VHS stuff or the DVDs from past, as far as we can and it's kind of the beauty of how fast things are with the internet, is we can kind of help mold their curriculums as we're going here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
There's a kind of a feedback loop there that's actually shorter than I think we realize and still realize, because we always, as you're producing content, there's that feeling of a one-way street, unlike giving somebody a lesson.
Yeah.
And so I think in a way we kind of discount that personalized instruction.
Yeah.
But what I think he showed in this article, at least with his journey, and we've gotten this from talking to a lot of other students, is that when you kind of self-curate both your time and your access to this information and how you utilize the tools like repeating different things. And then, I mean, like Elias has even gone into like, learning and doing things that we didn't say to do in the lessons, or we didn't say you have to. It was kind of like present the material.
Yeah.
And then he would take certain sections and then transcribe them himself, even if we didn't have them transcribed, and then learn them and then practice them in certain ways. That's really interesting. And then working into things like what you were saying in terms of people having requests about, anything from just a small subject to how do you play this tune and that kind of thing. And so there is a certain amount of customization that really we just sort of tripped over in a way.
Yeah.
Because people were nice enough to talk to us. I mean, this is like a whole story about it, which is really cool to to see it from his view. But people from the beginning, from when I first started lessons, and it was just me, no other teachers or help or anything. Like people were always, even if it was just like a little email or whatever, text, and like, oh, that was cool. Have you thought about this? And I was just like so humbled by that. I was like, all right, cool, I'll try it. And I wanted to be helpful. I wanted to be helpful in a way that comes from that same point of being a teacher when you sit down with somebody every week. But the nature of this, and we talked about a previous episode about the thing of being a hobby and stuff with the other article in the New York Times. The nature of learning this music and how you consume instruction can be, there's so many different ways that can happen, both known and unknown. So in terms of what we said, uncharted, like we're charting some of it, but there's a lot more that still needs to be charted.
Yeah, it's a really interesting time. Do you ever watch any of those, like, I belong to that website Masterclass, and there's a lot of great cooking classes that you can take. And I think one of the big advantages that we have with this right now is that immediate feedback you can get, from other people too who are on that site. You know what I mean? As far as just like, how are they absorbing the lessons? That's something you actually, you don't get a lot of unless you're at like a music school. Yeah. You know what I mean? Of like someone being like, oh yeah, well that knife technique, if you like rock it back this way, that's what he's doing. Like there's even like a little bit of like self, amongst the hive mind, right? A little bit of like self-direction.
But hasn't that always been a nice thing? Like if you think about, my daughter's at university now, and she's starting to do these study groups for different classes and stuff. Like there's the presentation of the lecture and then the teaching, but that interpretation, that sharing, that discussion group, and that thing that happens amongst your peers. And then the office hours and the different things, like all that kind of go. It's not just the dissemination of information. When we can make a book, and we do that too, where it's just like, here's the fingering for the scale. This is the, the nuts and bolts. But a lot of the things that we like to get into and try to inspire folks with in the world of jazz are, we're either going to miss something, or maybe we'll, I'll hit on it just briefly. And then someone's like, wait, what was that thing that he played? And to me, I'm like, whatever, that was just a chord. And someone else will be like, oh, no, that was this. That was this thing.
It's a thing for
and that community element can be very important.
And it could unlock something in someone who's reading it. Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah, we preach here about finding a community, but man, there's no better time, I think, to be alive and trying to find communities than it is right now. Almost dangerously.
Oh, man. Well, yeah, now
because if you're a real jerk, you can find a community of other jerks.
Exactly.
But, we have a lot of, plenty of squeaky wheels that tell us how we should be doing things. But, we're always looking to get better, even with this podcast. So, if any of you out there have some ideas for, like, things we can do to help make your jazz journey a little bit easier. Yeah,
because I think that
let us know.
Haven't you felt that this podcast has been more? I mean, we've kind of played around with the edutainment, thing, but we definitely started out more entertainment. We thought, but then we were hearing from folks like, "Man, I've been learning so much." We're like, "Wow, really?" And so we've tried to work more of that in there, but we want it to be fun to listen to. We don't want this is not supposed to be a lecture series,
Yeah, and it's so funny because some people are like, I only listen when you're talking about specific musical things, and some people are like, I'm just in it for the fun. There's like a camps on either side. Maybe we could pit them against each other someday.
That would be good. Take each other down. Then we'll have no audience.
A true panopticon.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great, man. Well, if you want to give us a suggestion for how we can help you on your jazz education journey, you can go to you'llhear.com, and please leave us a question, leave us a suggestion, and we're happy to accommodate. That's what this is all about.
That's right.
Until next time.
You'll hear it.